coast of America, a magical world awaits where billions of shrimp are ready to be discovered and harvested. Shrimp fishing isn't just crucial to the seafood industry, it's an integral part of local culture and life. We'll now follow American fishermen to learn about their adventurous journey and how they catch billions of shrimp. Along the U.S. Atlantic coast, shrimp are mainly found in the waters of Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. They inhabit muddy, soft bottoms in waters about 30,000 feet deep. Shrimp migrate with seasonal changes in water temperature. They're only common in coastal waters during late winter and spring when it's cooler. Egg-bearing female shrimp come to shore in late fall and winter. From February to April, after eggs hatch, female shrimp head back to offshore waters in the western Gulf of Maine. The average American eats about 4.1 pounds of shrimp each year. But how do we catch these tasty crustaceans? Actually, restaurant shrimp come from various sources. Though all are local, catching methods can differ. One type is caught on small boats using round nets cast into the sea. Here, coastal fishers can only catch shrimp near shore or in estuaries. Economic factors determine the boats, gear, and tools fishermen use. The crew on this small boat is throwing out their nets. The catch size will match the amount of shrimp collected. Naturally, it won't be as large as big commercial vessels. The second type is shrimp caught with trawl nets. Fishermen spend about 3 weeks at sea fishing for shrimp. The shrimp is processed on board and quickly frozen in batches. A typical portion includes 4 kilograms of frozen shrimp sorted by size. If not harvested, these shrimp die or get eaten by larger fish. However, shrimp is a sustainable, annually renewable seafood. A new crop of shrimp grows and becomes ready for harvest yearly. Billions of shrimp are caught off American coasts every year. From Gulf to Florida's beaches, fishers use modern boats and nets. This supplies domestic markets and boosts global shrimp exports. The main feature of this fishing method is the trawl net. A large specialized net sinks into the ocean and is pulled behind the fishing boat. The trawl net's shape is like a flattened cone with a wide front, allowing for extensive fishing. The net's bottom is weighted down with heavy objects. A buoy secures the top, lifting it to catch shrimp. As the net glides along the ocean floor, currents push shrimp up for easy capture. The net's conical structure forces shrimp down into the collection bag. Strong crew members then haul in the trawl net. Shrimp are stored on deck for sorting and processing. In the US, shrimp fishing is second only to crab fishing in importance. In the northern regions, cold-water shrimp are the primary target. Warm-water shrimp are targeted by fishermen along the southeastern Atlantic and Gulf coasts. Detecting shrimp on the seafloor is challenging due to the lack of ultrasound-detectable bubbles. Sometimes, fishermen had to trawl blindly and hope for the best. Many vessels have now installed shrimp detection systems. The sensor is attached to the net to help reduce bycatch. It picks up shrimp sounds and sends signals to the cabin. At this moment, the screen shows blue water lines and turns red. High fuel costs, labor shortages, and cheap imports have made shrimp fishing less viable. Locals say overfishing and climate change have also led to a decline in seafood numbers. This makes it even harder to get a good catch. Over 2 million pounds of whole shrimp are caught yearly by 200-plus boats off Georgia's coast. Licensed shrimp trawlers do most of the commercial shrimp harvesting in Georgia. The fleet consists of fishing boats or vessels 55 to 75 feet in length. They fished for shrimp up to 8 miles off the coast. American shrimpers often prepare for trips lasting several weeks at sea. The boats towed up to 4 otter trawls with lines at the net ends reaching 55 feet long. A wooden door serves as a guide to drag and deploy the net underwater. These boats typically trawl at 2 knots or less than 3 miles per hour. Blue or yellow lights are often used at night to attract shrimp and improve visibility. This is a highly effective method for catching shrimp. Hauling nets is wet, muddy, and exhausting work. But it's rewarding if you land a good catch of shrimp. Shrimp's global popularity required both otter trawls and combustion engines. A small crew can quickly haul heavy nets onto the ship and unload them. New tech allows fishermen to explore previously inaccessible fishing grounds. Fishermen can also use trawl nets in deeper offshore waters and even in icy areas. Today, fishermen are very concerned about preserving the environment and shrimp stocks, as their livelihood depends on it. Bycatch is also a major concern for them. Fishermen use gear that creates an escape hole in the net, allowing large fish to swim out. Small holes also open up, letting smaller fish escape from the net. For 25 minutes, massive nets are lowered to depths between 300 and 500 meters. 6 hours later, it's time to haul in the net. It's the moment all fishermen have been waiting for. Everyone focuses on their task, as even a small error could put them at risk. After collecting 4 tons of shrimp, the boat's hold starts to fill up. Each trawl lasts 6 hours, and daily, this boat catches 32 tons of shrimp. Once aboard, the shrimp are initially treated to remove algae and other impurities. This is typically done by placing shrimp in tanks with filtered water to clean them. After cleaning, the shrimp are stored in large tanks on the ship. Some fishermen opt to boil them before preservation. To keep shrimp cold and fresh, fishers use refrigeration or ice to maintain proper temps. When enough shrimp are caught and the ship returns to port, they're processed for market. Shrimp may be packed in ice boxes to maintain quality during transport. Once prepared, the shrimp are taken to seaports and processing facilities. From there, they're distributed to domestic and international markets via various channels. The boat set out in the morning. It returned at sunset loaded with shrimp. This is the daily routine of shrimp fishermen. They work to add economic value and growth to this industry of seafood. Hey there, friends. Winter's a great time for a table full of tasty oyster dishes. Oysters have graced our dinner tables for centuries. Ever wonder where they come from? Today we'll see how US fishers produce tons of oysters yearly. In 2023, the US will produce 45.3 million pounds of oysters, worth $221 million. Oysters are produced in three ways: natural, managed, and farmed. Natural oysters grow wild, available to licensed harvesters. Managed oysters are monitored and thinned to prevent overcrowding. For farmed oysters, fishers use traditional methods. They transport young oysters to artificial beds to continue growing. Globally, oysters are farmed in rows or tanks, a method now adopted in parts of the US. In eastern North America, oyster farming began a century ago to restore depleted beds and boost yields. Oysters spawn in summer when water temperatures rise. This starts the oyster farming cycle with fishermen collecting microscopic larvae. They provide anchoring spots for young oysters to grow. These oysters come from fishermen's island hatcheries and are nurtured in nurseries. The nursery stage grows oysters from 0.5 to nearly 1 inch. Then they're moved to farms in open water to grow to market size. When they hit 1.5 inches, farmers move them to bags to fatten for winter. Raise livestock without needing to feed them. That's right, oysters are that kind of livestock. They grow on their own, needing little human support. Past the larval stage, oysters feed themselves by filtering water. Bottom cages have become popular in oyster farming recently. Oysters live on finely ground shell bits in nurseries before caging. The cages are then submerged at rented river mouth spots for farming. Multi-level vertical cages let farmers grow more oysters. Oyster farms also provide habitat for young fish and invertebrates. Oyster farms have transformed flat dull estuaries into complex habitats. This invites key commercial and ecological species to feed and shelter. In Alaska, oysters thrive in cold, plankton-rich waters. Thus, high-quality oysters are available year-round. Cold water also reduces bacteria, extends shelf life, and ensures raw oyster safety. As they don't breed naturally, all Alaskan oysters come from Pacific Coast hatcheries. These cages house over 30 million oysters. These tiny oysters need constant care, or the whole crop could be lost. Oysters grow best between 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Before spawning, farmers adjust tank temps for an ideal environment. Once placed in the tank, they transform into larvae. About 1 billion oysters are born in these tanks yearly. After netting the oyster spat, fishermen anchor them in the ocean or on the beach. Here, oysters feed by filtering naturally occurring plankton from the water. Farmers monitor weather, as excess rain dilutes water salinity, affecting oysters. Depending on cage type, farmers distribute oysters accordingly. Experienced oyster farmers often redistribute medium-sized oysters in cages. They reduce density for quality, removing 85-90 oysters from crowded cages. The farmer then equally divides them among 3 different cages. The oysters return to the cage with more space to grow and move freely. As dusk settles over the Kalmo River, fishermen clean sand off oyster shells before returning them to the sea. They believe cleaner shells allow more water flow, aiding oyster growth. It takes 18 to 36 months for oysters to reach market size. After 6 months, the cage is removed and oysters are taken to production. Here, machines sort them by size. Market-ready oysters are exported, while smaller ones return to the sea. Ideal oyster farms need good tides for food delivery and waste removal. Naturally, oyster farms should be near seafood distribution markets. Navigating through icebergs, the boat entered the oyster farm. They harvested oysters in the frigid 7-degree water. The tough harvest filled them with pride, supplying through winter. Farmers rushed oysters to market, offering a taste of Maine's coast. Like Maine, Arcachon Bay's oyster farming is a part of local life. Farmers show visitors how to flip, release, or harvest oysters. Sounds simple, doesn't it? In reality, this work is incredibly challenging. Farmers spend hours underwater, manually rotating oyster cages. Some farmers use technology to do this more efficiently. This approach also makes harvesting easier for farmers. They stay on the boat, opening each cage one at a time. After decades of processed oysters, eating fresh ones in the shell is now trendy. Like wine, oysters are known to take on the characteristics of their environment. So that's great if you live in New England and love oysters. New England oysters grow in cold, rich waters, giving them a delicious, umami-packed flavor. Now let's take a trip to harvest these natural oysters. At 5:30 a.m. before dawn, he set off, following GPS to find oyster beds to explore. Like a gentle warm-up, he harvested the first batch of oysters before sunrise. The work continued non-stop until around noon. He returned with the boat and sold them. Interestingly, oysters can't move. Not at all. They float downstream, attached to rocks, and stay put for life if all goes well. The oyster has a rich taste, reflecting the salty, fresh flavor of its pristine habitat. Besides being tasty and nutritious, oysters help maintain healthy ecosystems. They're food, filtering out particles and pollutants, like excess nitrogen, from their habitat waters. Also, as oyster larvae cling to hard surfaces to survive, Barnacles help rebuild coral reefs. The sun set as he slowly circled his boat in San Antonio Bay before the harvest began. Fishermen started setting traps, chopping oyster clusters with axes, and sorting them on the boat. They earn most of their yearly income by harvesting oyster reefs. The oyster season concludes in April with a flurry of activity. In the final week, they needed to work faster to gather more oysters. In 2023, the state will limit oyster boats to about 50 bags or crates per day. This quota must be enforced to protect markets and resources. Unlike oyster farming, fishing success depends largely on luck. Natural oysters won't look or size like farmed ones. But wild-grown oysters offer a unique flavor in return. Plus, fishermen avoid huge livestock farming costs. After harvest, it's a race to get oysters safely to buyers. Quality oysters are washed, labeled, and canned. Fishers ice and chill them for 2 hours per FDA rules. Trucks then ship them to US stores and distributors. Finally, they're on your plate at 40 cents per oyster.